So we could pretty much just skip over this then.
Yeah, but we need to emphasize that Stephanie McMahon was the one that introduced Flo Rida, and then after the Flo Rida concert was when we had the best segment of the night.
Yes, because soon Stephanie is being confronted by men who claim to be Florida policemen, and they begin, reading Stephanie her Miranda rights. Stephanie adamantly says, I know my rights, and then they begin questioning her, and finally the question comes around, did you strike Brie Bella? And now Stephanie's trying to say, well, she struck me, and then finally after pressing her enough, she says, well, yes, I struck Brie Bella. And then they said, well, under Florida law, that is considered battery, you are under arrest for battery, and the whole time the crowd is going nuts. I mean, yes, Chance all freaking day for this.
No, hey, goodbye, Chance, too.
Yeah, that too. And as Stephanie is being put in cuffs, you see Brie come out of the shadows, the big reveal that she's back in the arena. Crowd pops huge for her, and they pretty much get face to face, and Brie's rubbing it in. And, oh man, Stephanie was such a great villain in this, dude.
What else is new? McMahon is a great villain.
Yeah, it's totally genetic. I mean, her father would be so proud, because as she's being taken up the ramp, she says, I'll have both your badges, yours and yours. You have no idea the power I have in this city. Oh, Arby Dent, stop.
That's what it felt like, though, right?
It did, when she's like, you have no idea the power I have in this city. I'm like, oh, man. And then she's, taken to the back. She's like, Hunter, help me, I don't want to go to jail. And Hunter, he tries to stop the cops. He's like, what are you doing? Show me your badges, And they finally show him, they are legitimate Florida police. And they get Stephanie in the car. She's like, Hunter, I'm so scared. And he's like, Steph, I'm going to take care of this. You won't even be in there 5 minutes. It's okay. Just calm down. Oh, look at that. You guys drive a hybrid. You must be so proud of yourselves. And, they drive off, and thus Stephanie goes to film her cameo for Season 3 of Orange is the New Black.
Yeah.
So,
dude, if it wasn't for my friend Mark and I might just stop watching, that would have been line of the night. The whole, you drive a hybrid, you must be so proud of yourself. Like, that was hilarious.
Triple H was, to steal a line from you that you said at the opening segment when we watched this together, he was so on point tonight.
He was.
So good. Yeah. So good. So, yeah, segment of the night. Do you have anything you want to add to this?
Yeah, I just want to say I wish that we would have had Damian Sandow as LeBron James last night, and then tonight he should have come out as Flo, the Geico girl, and teamed up with Zack Ryder so that they could introduce themselves as Flo Rida.
I saw what you did there. Mind equals blown.
Yeah, just saying. So, up next we had... we went to a commercial, but then when we got back, Joey Mercury was approaching Triple H about the whole SummerSlam title championship thing. And Triple H says, Joey, let this be a lesson. Family comes first. It's my wife. And then he gets ready to walk out and he goes, well, she does have to get processed, doesn't she? And Joey's just like, yeah, it's going to take some time. Triple H is just like, yeah, the lawyers are already on their way and I probably got enough time, right? Just like, tell him that I'll be there as soon as I make the decision. So we're keeping Triple H around for the rest of the night, which worked out pretty well, I think.
This was hilarious. This totally cemented Triple H being the 2014 recipient of Husband of the Year award. This was fantastic.
And then up next, we had Ryback versus Big E and Kofi, which really didn't last long before Ryback ended up getting the pin on, what was it?
It was Kofi Kingston.
Kofi, yeah, he pinned Kofi. And then Xavier Woods came out. And John, you know what? Since I already got all of my grief out of the way, I want you to mark out.
This was awesome! No, like I told you guys at the start, the only reason that it disappointed me that Ashton made this season of the night, though for very legitimate reasons, as I would come to find out, this was my mark out moment of the night. Like, this is what I personally popped hardest for. Really excited for this. I'm glad we're going to see a serious Xavier Woods, play up the fact that he's working towards a PhD, a very intelligent guy, a very educated guy. He'll be the new Damian Sandow now, I guess, except now he's rallying the troops, which I think is even better. Again, I totally understand Ashton's concerns with this angle, but I'm excited because, A, we get a new Xavier Woods. B, it seems like a Malcolm X style gimmick, and Malcolm X is one of my favorite people in history ever, so that's one of the reasons for the really big personal mark out. And 3, Kofi Kingston heel. So, you know, even though the heel turn may seem a bit messed up because they are speaking the truth and they're trying to do something about it, and I'll be rooting for them all the way, this is a new dimension for Kingston to explore as a performer, so I'm very excited about those possibilities. You get Mark Henry and R-Truth in it, or heck, even if you don't and you want this to be a 3-man team, either way, I hope these guys make waves. I really do. This is probably going to be one of my, from a personal level, one of the angles I am excited about the most, where they go with it. So let's hope for the best.
Absolutely. I just hope that it works as well as it possibly can, and the WWE doesn't let it blow up in their faces, because that's exactly what I fear is going to happen. So up next, we had Rusev versus the Great Khali. Decent match, I guess. About as good as a Great Khali match can be. Rusev eventually just kind of gets angry and says screw it and just goes full out frontal assault on Khali. Gets a super kick to the face, stomps on his back, and applies the accolade for the win. But the one thing I really do want to point out here, just big props to Rusev for constantly selling the foot throughout this entire match.
Yeah, he clearly attended Dean Ambrose's seminar of how to sell lingering injuries. Or
yeah, I mean, I was getting ready to say, like, I feel like Dean Ambrose's shoulder is the new DDP's ribs, but Rusev did a great job with the ankle here too. So, page out of the same book.
And you know what, while we're on the subject of this match, because you pretty much covered it, I really have nothing to add. What I will add, though, is that we did find out that on main event, Rusev will be having a non-title match against Sheamus. So, yeah, we're getting Rusev and Sheamus tomorrow night, guys. I don't think it'll have a conclusive finish. At least I hope it doesn't. This was still a match I had penciled in for Night of Champions, but Ashton made the point to me, depending on how this goes, could we potentially get it at SummerSlam?
Yeah, I mean, it was so weird because I was expecting the whole Swagger feud for Rusev to last another pay-per-view, but I guess the decisive victory is just going to put it away, and now Rusev is going to move on to literally bigger and better things.
Definitely. Really, I could see Swagger re-entering the picture at Night of Champions if they'd want to see him take on Rusev for the U.S. title for the Pride of America. So I could see Swagger getting reintroduced, if only he's just going to be phased out for the moment, so you can really put that heat on Rusev. But I do think he should win the United States Championship because of his character and because of the implications such a win would have. This is like one instance where it could be more than just about a guy winning a title. It could just further the character and the storyline surrounding him. So let's hope it happens.
Definitely. So up next, we had a really weird, maybe not quite as formulaic, but still pretty much the same kind of gist promo from Stardust and Goldust.
Really nothing to add here. I'm starting to get irritated because I like these guys, but I want to see them compete. I'm really getting kind of fed up with the promos. They're not saying anything new to me. Honestly, I couldn't even tell you what they said. Because it's just like, what are you getting at? What's the point? Even with Bray, I feel like there's some semblance of direction with his promos. I don't think he's nearly as cryptic as some people try and make him out to be sometimes. This, to me, is just like off the rails. Like, I don't even know where they're trying to go with it. But it's whatever. I hope to see him in a ring soon. I'm starting to get annoyed with these segments. Let's hope they move on to something better soon enough.
Can I just throw something out there, John?
Sure.
Would you agree with me when I say this is probably the best Raw we've gotten since the post-WrestleMania Raw?
I would, yeah.
And that being said, I just want to throw this out there. The only people that weren't on the show tonight that are normally on the show were John Cena and the Usos.
Wow. That's right, the Usos were absent too. I knew John Cena would be, but I didn't even think about the fact that the Usos did not show up.
Oh yeah, and wow. Sheamus also. Sheamus too.
Wow, and Sheamus. Holy crap.
Who needs Daniel Bryan or John Cena or the Usos or Sheamus when you can have Raws like this?
Really, I mean, you have to be honest about it. All these guys were absent. Bad News Barrett is still recovering from injury.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Bryan and Barrett, and I'll even go as far as to say Sheamus, would make Raws in general better. But I think that it's great that the WWE can put on this good of a show without 3 of their 5 champions on the entire roster, and without the top babyface in the company, and of course Bad News Bear. Like, their roster is so depleted right now, even if half of it is due to injury and the other half is just because they didn't show up. Like, it just blows my mind that they could put on this great of a show with the roster that they did it with.
I noticed that this all, and we have to really emphasize, at least I think it's worth emphasizing, this is a 3-hour program.
Yeah.
And you got by without these appearances because the injuries we've already dealt with for quite some time.
You know what it makes me wonder, John?
What's that?
And I've been wondering this probably since Triple H did that brief little thing with Joey Mercury talking about how she still has to get processed or whatever. I wonder how much input or influence Triple H had in the booking of this Raw.
I gotta wonder that too.
Because now, what you and I personally identify Triple H with his booking style, what we identify it with is the roster rotation that we get on NXT, where you don't get all of the top guys on every show. That's exactly what happened tonight. Now, I know that John Cena is filming a movie or movies or whatever it is, but I can't imagine that the Usos and Sheamus weren't on tap if they wanted to use them tonight, and they didn't.
Right. And that's crazy, yeah.
It genuinely makes me wonder how much Triple H had to do with this show. I'm half expecting tomorrow for some big storyline or some news story to come out on Dirt Sheets talking about how Triple H booked Raw because Vince McMahon wanted to see if he could get the ratings to pop for SummerSlam.
Yeah. I fully expect a story like that as well. If this was Triple H's doing, fantastic job. I think this is a brilliant way to handle a certain depletion in your talent pool, and really gave some great shine to people, and they carried it, and they carried it damn fine. So, yeah, dude, that's an excellent point. I didn't even think about Usos and Sheamus not being on the show. That's crazy.